Despite continued efforts and initiatives, farmers' organizations fail to understand the government's stand. Government ready to discuss all concerns. Government accuses opposition of playing politics over new farm laws. Union Minister Smriti Irani says opposition is deliberately trying to create law and order issues. Shivraj Singh Chauhan says then Agriculture Minister Sharad Pawar spoke about implementing APMC Act. In his message on the 36th Charter Day of SAARC countries, Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the full potential of SAARC can only be realized in a terror-free environment. In Jammu and Kashmir, 2 terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in Pulwama. Operation continues. Drug Controller General of India to hold meeting today to review the application for the emergency use of COVID vaccine. Applications of Pfizer, Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute to be considered for review. Development in vaccine front shows positive impact on the Wall Street. S&P 500 and Nasdaq shoots up to record levels. And in sports, English football giants Manchester United knocked out of the UEFA Champions League after suffering a defeat to German club RB Leipzig. In another match, Juventus blank Barcelona 3-0. Good morning, welcome to English News. I am Anil Thomas. Now for the stories in detail. Despite continued efforts and initiatives, farmers' organizations have failed to understand the government's stand. Home Minister Amit Shah held talks with farmers on Tuesday evening to end the deadlock over the farm laws. Government is ready to discuss all issues and concerns. The 6th round of talks scheduled for today morning have been postponed. However, some farmer leaders have decided not to take part in the 6th round of talks today. Meanwhile, in the ongoing Kharif marketing season, government continues to procure Kharif crops at its MSP from farmers as per the existing MSP schemes. Paddy procurement for Kharif 2020-21 has progressed smoothly in the procuring states and union territories including Punjab and Haryana. Over 350.29 LMTs of paddy procured against the last year's corresponding purchase of 292.37 LMT, showing an increase of 19.81% over last year. Of the total purchase of 350.29 LMTs, Punjab alone has purchased 202.77 LMT, while till the close of procurement season in the state on the 30th of November, which is 57.88% of the total procurement in the country. Shifting focus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the full potential of the SAARC grouping can only be realized in an atmosphere free of terror and violence. In his message on the 36th SAARC Charter Day, Prime Minister Modi said, "Let us recommit ourselves to defeating the forces that support and nurture terrorism and to work collectively towards a secure and prosperous South Asia." The Prime Minister also underscored India's commitment to work with other countries in the region for post-COVID-19 recovery. Meanwhile, in Jammu and Kashmir, at least 2 terrorists were eliminated in an encounter in Pulwama. The Kashmir Zone Police in a tweet informed that the encounter broke out in Tikane region early this morning. Police and security forces are engaged in the operations. 2 terrorists have been killed while the operation is still underway. Back in the national capital, experts from the Central Drug Standard Control Organization will hold a meeting today to review the applications of several companies seeking emergency use authorization for the COVID-19 vaccine candidates. At the meeting, 3 companies, Serum, Pfizer and Bharat Biotech, will give their respective presentations. Each company will give an hour-long presentation. The meeting will witness detailed discussions on clinical trial data, including side effects, quality and effectiveness of the vaccine. The expert committee will then submit its recommendations to the Drug Controller General of India for emergency use authorization for the COVID-19 vaccine. As the race for COVID-19 vaccine heats up, the MEA is organizing a meet in which foreign heads of missions will be visiting biotech companies in Hyderabad today. MEA is organizing a visit for foreign heads of missions to leading biotech companies in Hyderabad. Bharat Biotech and Biological E, more than 60 heads of mission are expected to see firsthand the development works regarding COVID vaccine by Indian companies. This is the first such visit, and it will be followed by visit to facilities in other cities. India has been contributing significantly to global efforts against COVID-19 pandemic. There is a lot of interest in India's vaccine development efforts. India is the world's largest vaccine manufacturer. Prime Minister Modi had said in the past that India's vaccine production and delivery capacity will be used to help all humanity in fighting this crisis. A quick look at COVID-19 updates from across the country. India has reported a landmark achievement as the total active caseload has fallen below the 4 lakh mark on Tuesday. India's active caseload now stands at 3,78,909. This number translates to just 3.89% of the total cases. This is the lowest after 142 days. Continuing with the trend of the last 11 days, India has reported more daily recoveries than the daily new cases as on Tuesday. While 4,957 new positive cases were found in the country, 36,635 new recoveries were registered during the last 24 hours. New cases per million population in India recorded in the past 7 days are amongst the lowest in the world. The difference in new recoveries outnumbering new cases has also improved the recovery rate to 94.66%. The total recovered cases are presently at 92,15,581. With rigorous measures, India is acing its battle against the coronavirus pandemic. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, total number of samples tested as on the 8th of December is 14,98,36,767. Out of this, 10,22,712 samples were tested on Tuesday. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation founder and tech pioneer Bill Gates applauded India for its policies on financial inclusion and innovation. Gates, while speaking at the Singapore FinTech Festival, praised India's digital platforms like the Unified Payments Interface, that's UPI, and the Aadhaar, and said these initiatives have drastically reduced the cost of money distribution among the poor. Bill Gates even stated that based on India's approach to policy implementation, his foundation was working with other countries to roll out open source technologies which will benefit various other countries to implement programs such as Aadhaar and UPI. General M.M. Narwane, the Chief of Army Staff, has proceeded on a visit to the United Arab Emirates and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Army Chief will be in UAE from the 9th to the 12th of December. The visit is historic in the sense it will be the first time an Indian Army Chief is visiting the UAE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Army Chief will then travel to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the second leg of his tour from the 13th to the 14th of December. He will take forward the excellent defense cooperation between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and India through multiple meetings with senior functionaries of security establishments and exchange views on various defense-related issues. Well, let's now take a look at the updates on the latest stock markets across Asia on how they have progressed. Asian shares rose to a record high today as investors track positive news on COVID-19 vaccines and the ongoing efforts to launch more fiscal stimulus. In India, Sensex surged 270.61 points to an all-time high of 45,879.12 in the opening session of trade. Nifty rose 78 points to hit a record high of 13,471.20. In Japan, too, there has been upward movement in the stock markets. The benchmark Nikkei 225 opened 0.22% up at 26,526.20 0.34 points. South Korea's benchmark Kospi opened up 18 or roughly 19 points or 0.7% up at 2,719.89 points. Hong Kong stocks too recovered from 2 days of losses as the benchmark Hang Seng Index rose 0.78% or 205.86 points at 26,510.42 points. The steady march of positive news on COVID-19 vaccines have helped lift the investor spirit in the stock markets. Well, taking a look at Wall Street, how Wall Street has performed, U.S. stocks closed higher on Tuesday in parts due to a boost from the healthcare sector on positive COVID-19 vaccine news, while uncertainty over fresh fiscal stimulus held gains in check. Johnson & Johnson rose to help lift both the Dow and S&P 500 after the company said it could obtain a late-stage trial result of a single-dose COVID-19 vaccine it is developing in January, which is earlier than expected. Pfizer Inc. also advanced as it cleared the next hurdle in the race to get its COVID-19 vaccine approved for emergency use after the U.S. health regulator released documents raising no new safety or efficacy issues. Positive developments related to the COVID-19 vaccine have in recent weeks helped investors look past the surge in infections and anticipate an economic rebound next year. Shifting to global stories, let's now take a quick update on COVID-19 pandemic from across the world on how things stand. As of now, more than 6 crore 85 lakh coronavirus cases being reported worldwide. Death toll now stands at 15 lakh 63,000. That's the death toll across the world. When you look at positive numbers, what's the positive number that one looks at when it comes to COVID? The positive number one looks at is the recoveries, 4 crore 74 lakhs. That's the recovery that we've seen worldwide from COVID-19. Also, when you look at the country that's been severely affected both in terms of infections and also in terms of fatalities, United States continues to top the list. United States having a caseload now in excess of 1 crore 55 lakhs. The death toll in United States of America over 2 lakh 93,000. Brazil comes second when it comes to the fatality list. Brazil having over 1 lakh 78,000 deaths in the South American nation. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to ensure that American citizens have first priority to receiving American vaccines. It is unclear how the order would be enforced as vaccine makers have already inked deals with other countries. But it suggests that US is concerned about potential shortages as it seeks to immunize tens of millions of people in the coming months. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has threatened to veto a Pentagon budget bill as the House prepared to vote on the spending blueprint that has strong support from both parties. Oxford University and AstraZeneca became the first COVID-19 vaccine makers to publish final stage clinical trial results in a scientific journal on Tuesday, clearing a key hurdle in the global race to produce safe and effective drugs for the new COVID-19. The study, published in the respected Lancet Medical Journal, confirmed that the vaccine works at an average of 70% of cases. It comes during a flurry of positive developments that have raised hopes the rollout of vaccines can help begin to restrain a pandemic that has killed more than 1.5 million people and have stricken societies worldwide. United Kingdom has begun its mass coronavirus vaccination program with 800,000 people expected to be vaccinated in the coming weeks. Medical centers have been set up across the country to try and deliver the vaccine as quickly as possible. John Beaver sent us this report from the city of Bristol that's now administrating vaccinations.
The widespread rollout of the coronavirus vaccine in the UK after it was the first country to approve the use of the Pfizer vaccine. To start with, it's being offered to those who are 80 plus, to frontline medical staff and to those who work in care homes. In coming weeks, it will be offered to a wider group of people, but the UK only has enough for 20 million people, so it obviously can't vaccinate the entire population. They're very much pinning their hopes on the Oxford vaccine that's being developed in conjunction with AstraZeneca as being a vaccine that can be offered to the population in general. The Health Secretary today said that he was delighted that the vaccination programme had begun, but warned people that they still needed to follow the guidelines to stop the spread of coronavirus before mass vaccination has taken place.
Well, as the mass coronavirus vaccination program began in the United Kingdom on Tuesday, 90-year-old Margaret Keenan from Britain became the first person in the world to receive the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. An early riser, Keenan received the jab at her local hospital in Coventry, central England, on Tuesday morning, a week before she turns 91. The mass inoculation aims to fuel hope that the world may be turning a corner in the fight against COVID-19, although ultra-cold storages and tricky logistics will limit its use for now. Moving on, Brazil has signed a letter of intent with Pfizer Inc. guaranteeing the delivery of more than 70 million COVID-19 vaccines, doses from January next year, as announced by the Health Ministry on Tuesday. Shortly after President Jair Bolsonaro tweeted that Brazil will make any vaccine available free of charge to anyone who wants it once the effectiveness and approval has been signed off by the health regulator Anvisa. Brazil reported over 51,000 additional confirmed coronavirus cases in the past 24 hours and over 800 fatalities from COVID-19, marking the highest death toll since November 14th. In other international news, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Tuesday introduced the team to lead his administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic, emphasizing that mass vaccination distribution needs to achieve his goal of 100 million shots in the first 100 days in office. Addressing a briefing in Wilmington, Delaware, Biden said he needed Congress to fully fund vaccine distribution to all corners of the United States. He said getting children back to school will be a national priority in his first 100 days in office.
Today, masking, vaccinations, opening schools. These are the three key goals for my first 100 days. This team will help get at the last 100 million COVID-19 vaccine, at least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first 100 days. We're going to need Congress to fully fund vaccine distribution to all corners of the country, to everyone.
Well, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden named retired Army General Lloyd Austin to be the Secretary of Defense, who, if confirmed, will become the first African-American to lead the Pentagon. The four-star general was the U.S. commander in Iraq and then the head of the U.S. Central Command, covering over all of the Middle East in 2010 to 2016 when Biden was vice president. But he was a surprise choice for Secretary of Defense, bypassing a highly qualified former senior Pentagon civilian official, Michelle Flournoy. The Biden campaign called Austin a trusted and crisis-tested leader who has overseen some of the most complex and impactful operations in the history of armed services. Moving on to some other international stories, in California, firefighters attacked a fast-moving blaze in Ventura County. The gusty Santa Ana winds were blowing throughout Southern California and into the night, spreading into the Ventura County and prompting power shutoffs and red flags warnings in other areas. Southern California utilities cut the power to tens of thousands of customers and warned many others they could be without power in an effort to prevent wildfire ignition from potential wind damage to power lines. The Cornell fire broke out in Santa Paula before noon and was egged on by strong Santa Ana winds. The Ventura County Fire Department has urged residents to be prepared in case of an emergency. Workers need to cut power to their homes. In the past, Southern California's fire season ran from about May or June to November. Now it seems as if wildfires can break out just about any time of the year. Meanwhile, Venice was underwater on Tuesday as heavy rains and strong winds pushed into the lagoon city, catching the authorities off guard before they could activate the huge flood barriers that was rolled out just 2 months ago. The system of 78 floodgates known as Mose guard the entrance to the Ventinian Lagoon and are designed to protect the city from tides of up to 3 meters. Venice's St. Mark's Square was underwater after a newly installed system of mobile artificial dams failed to activate. The waters drowned St. Mark's Square, the Renaissance city's lowest area, at about 1 meter above sea level, and invaded the famous Basilica as many shopkeepers blocked their entrances with wood panels to keep the water out. A massive flood defense system called Moshe, aimed at protecting Venice's lagoon during high tide, was finally installed in October. The residents, long accustomed to high water events, pulled on their rubber boots once more to deal with flooding that reached a high of 1.37 meters above the sea level during the day. Well, on to something interesting. In some interesting news from the automobile sector, automobile companies have been vying to bring the perfect electric vehicle to international markets. Other than the giants of the industry, several startups have time and again impressed with breakthrough innovations. Most of these, however, are born out of US, Europe or China. So when a homegrown firm comes out with a state-of-the-art electric vehicle that promises the best in the field and is completely made in India, it is bound to grab attention. This is what this particular electric car does. Bangalore-based electric vehicle startup Praveg Dynamics has revealed its first electric vehicle, which looks futuristic and promises a range of 500 kilometers on a single charge. It can produce a top speed of 196 kilometers per hour and can sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 5.4 seconds. Let's take a look.
A clarion call by Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a Atmanirbhar Bharat has seen some of the best minds coming together and taking out new technologies for Make in India initiative. Make in India product, made in India. How much proud do you feel while making this car?
The technology so far developed is for safety of batteries and providing a certain amount of range. Almost 90% I would say by mass, the vehicle is made in India. Of course, there are certain smaller components which are also high value components. And that is the opportunity that Indian vendors should also look at. There are 200 crore cars, or rather 2 billion cars in the world to be replaced in the next 10-15 years. This provides a massive headroom for us to, in fact, supply to the world, make in India and sell to the world, and really capture that market.
Right. By what time do you think this car can be serially produced in the country?
So in fact, this is a one-of-a-kind prototype. It's an almost 1.5-year-old prototype for us. It's the first time we are getting it out in public, and with you, Tapas, it couldn't be a better platform. But so the new version, we've already built a few prototypes. We're building prototypes for that, and it will be in serial production next Diwali, November 21.
What about the life cycle of a car? Also, how long does it? Most of the people talk about that charging an EV takes time. So how long does it take to charge this electrical vehicle?
So I'll address all the 3 points. One is the charge time. So for our vehicles, we can go up to 400 kilometers of charge in 30 minutes. That's 80% in 30 minutes. After that, we have to kind of slow down a little bit. But that's at par with the global metrics. Then second is the life cycle of the battery itself. So we're looking at almost 10 lakh kilometers, which is I would say one of the leading metrics in the world today of life cycle of the battery.
We also spoke about the speed. Generally, we have seen EV don't match up with the speed of a regular combustion engine. What about this car? What about Praveg?
Motors are used in almost all the largest and the fastest applications in the world, whether it's bullet trains, whether it's aircraft carriers, etc. So motors are in fact incredibly good. It's just a matter of how much power can you take out of the battery to power that motor. So this one can go up to 196 kilometers per hour as a top speed.
Appreciate your time. So that was Siddharth telling us that baby steps were taken, but it's time for India to reach, to become a global leader when it comes to EV technology. With camera person Anil, this is Apush Bhattacharya, DD India, Delhi.
Well, moving to some sports stories there. Matthew Wade blasted 80 of 53 deliveries as Australia beat India by 12 runs in the final T20 International in Sydney. The opener shared a 90-run partnership with Glenn Maxwell, who scored 54 of 36 as Australia posted 186 for 5. Captain Virat Kohli's 85 from 61 was the highlight of an Indian chase that saw them lose wickets regularly. Leg spinner Mitchell Sweepson was the pick of the Aussie bowlers with a 3 for 23 as India lost wickets at regular intervals. The Tourists had already wrapped up a series victory by going 2-0 ahead on Sunday, but their 10-match T20 winning streak came to an end. Sweepson bagged the Man of the Match award while Hardik Pandya pocketed the Man of the Series. A 4-test series will start from the 17th of December in Adelaide, the first test being a day-night one. On to football, Manchester United are out of the Champions League after losing to RB Leipzig 2-3 in their final Group H game. The Reds went into the game knowing a point would be enough to seal a place in the knockout phase, but were 2 goals down at the break and fell 3 behind in the second half. Late goals from Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire gave United hope, but their luck ultimately ran out and they couldn't find a third. The loss means United will drop into the Europa League in the new year, having lost in the semi-finals of that competition last season. Next up for the Reds is Saturday's derby at Old Trafford. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of news. Thanks for watching. You take good care of yourself. Have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.